One summer moment can change a child's life. Through Toys for Tots Give and Go initiative, your support provides books, games, toys, and outdoor adventures that spark curiosity, creativity, and a love of nature. Whether it's fishing, learning a new sport, reading under a tree, or playing with friends, these moments build confidence and lifelong memories. For too many children, those moments never come. You can help change that this summer. Visit toysfortots.org. Toys for Tots, delivering hope beyond the holidays.
Welcome to the 5 o'clock show. It's time for Common Sense. Now, it's Katz and Cosby with John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby, standing for truth, justice, and the American way, bringing common sense to the world. Now, here's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby.
And John, you heard it. We're not going to take it anymore. President Trump says he will retaliate after Iran shot down a U.S. helicopter last night. By the way, the pilots are okay. That's the good news. But President Trump said payback is coming.
You know what an old friend of mine used to say? Payback is a bitch.
Yeah, and it's going to be a big one with President Trump. You know it. When President Trump puts out a tweet like that, John.
It's not just double coupons.
Yeah, it's triple, quadruple coupons. What do you think, Judge Richard Weinberg?
I think the jury's still out. I want to see what he does.
What do you think? I think he's going to hit something big. You don't set that up because he's the one who put out the message saying, this is what happened last night. Luckily, again, the pilots were rescued safely, by the way, by an autonomous drone. This is interesting. I can't wait to ask General Keane about it. They used a drone to actually rescue the pilots, but they say there's no doubt Iran tried to shoot it down, did shoot it down.
It's like, I understand it's like a submarine drone.
Isn't that interesting?
That they knew where the pilots were. They had the submarine drone go underwater, and all of a sudden it comes up where the pilots are.
Isn't that amazing? It's incredible. In the Strait of Hormuz, the very contentious Strait of Hormuz, it really is masterful what happened. And it's the first time it's ever been used, which is really a I can't wait to hear how the technology works.
But they made President Trump angry. And when he's angry,
payback is coming.
Payback is a bitch.
So the question is it going to be, John, like Clint Eastwood or Richard Bronson? Because, look, you don't want to anger President Trump. Make my day.
Listen, as long as it's not an empty tent, okay?
We have a lot of primaries tonight, a couple, at least a few.
Yeah, biggies.
And with us today is Sean Spicer, the president's press secretary back in the first term, and President Trump 45, and let's see what he has to say. Sean, what do you have to say today?
Yeah,
What's going on?
Sean, let's do that. Let's do it with the breaking news. Here you go, and you can fill us in.
Breaking news, WABC.
So, Sean, what should we look for tonight?
By the way, boss, I need to figure out how to get one of those buttons for my show. I love that. I might just play it for 60 minutes. Breaking news.
Yeah, they should have at least 10 of them in an hour.
I wasn't sure if you like the breaking news or the make my day. Both of them are great.
Well, I got two make my days and one breaking news.
Well, how about the one that Trump used to have, President Trump?
You're fired. You're fired.
You're fired.
You're fired.
Or how about, I don't give a crap.
Yeah, or you're fired. Yeah, wait, we have that one. Where's that one? I think we have... There it is. Go ahead, Sean.
Oh, you guys got all the good choice. I gotta get up to.
We'll get it for you
tomorrow. All right. So look, I think there's three sort of states tonight that I'm keeping an eye on, and I'll give you them in least important, like kind of descending order. The first is Nevada. Republican incumbent governor Joe Lombardo is facing a primary. Several folks. It's more of just a test of, what percentage does he get? How the base is with him or not? So that's why I kind of put that at the bottom of my list. It's interesting for political junkies, but I think Lombardo's done a good job overall, and he should be okay. The next, in my opinion, on the Republican side is keeping an eye on three sort of different races in South Carolina. The first is the 1st Congressional District. That's currently represented by Nancy Mace. It's the Charleston area. Of all the districts in South Carolina outside of the Clyburn district, which is North Charleston, Jim Clyburn, the Democrat, who they tried to get rid of, this is the one that I would say is the swingiest. It's the least conservative of the Republican districts. Nancy Mace, interesting, she's running for governor, so she's not there. multi-field primary on the Dem side and on the Republican side. Top two make it if no one gets to 50. And by the way, I really hate this. I'm a fan of the old days. If you got the most votes, you won. Whatever. There's the primary or the general. These, this whole runoff thing kind of gets to me. But that's a side note. So I keep an eye on that race just because I think it's going to be important for the Republican majority, depending on who the Republicans get and who the Democrats nominate on their side. In the governor's race, as I mentioned, Nancy Mace among those running for the governor's race. So you've got her, Ralph Northam, who is another member of Congress, he's a House Freedom Caucus kind of guy, but he got on the bad side of Trump by endorsing Nikki Haley and sticking with her. So the Lieutenant Governor, Pam Avett, exactly. Nikki Haley, you remember that name. Yeah. And then you've got Pam Avett. Pam is the Lieutenant Governor. She, to current Governor Henry McMaster, Trump endorsed her last week. This is going to be the real interesting thing. And by the way, the other one that's running is the current Attorney General, multi-term Attorney General Alan Wilson. Now, here's the thing that's going to be interesting on two fronts on the governor's race. Number one, does the Trump endorsement really translate for Pam Avett, the lieutenant governor? I've been told by people in South Carolina who are in the know that she's got a mixed bag in terms of support in the MAGA world. So I'll be interested to see what number she gets. I don't think she'll break 50. She'll definitely make the run-up, but is she number one or is she number two? And then the obvious second question is, who gets that second slot? Mace has sort of upset the president on a bunch of issues. Alan Wilson, the son of Joe Wilson, the current attorney general, has won statewide a bunch. And then Ralph Northam, Norman.
Sean, we got another minute to go, so give us the rest of it.
Yeah, let's go to Maine, the biggie.
I would keep an eye on how much Lindsey Graham does in the Senate, but then the Maine race, here's the key thing. Graham Plattner, how well does he do in that race? Remember, there are two other Democrats still on the ballot.
And this is a real lowlife, Plattner.
Real lowlife.
So how many people, John, here's the question. How many people go out to vote in the Dem primary but want to send a protest vote that they don't want Plattner? I think he definitely wins, but does he win with under 80%? Because if he starts getting into the 70s or, God forbid, the 60s, that says that Democrats don't like him.
Yeah, we'll see. And also,
so he's unopposed?
No, he has other names. He also is Janet Mills, who's still on the
incumbent governor, is still on the ballot.
Right, even though she kind of pulled out.
On the ballot.
Yep.
Right. So remember, when candidates suspend their race, they're not off the ballot. They're just not actively running. So Eric Swalwell was actually on the ballot in California, believe it or not, because you suspend your campaign. You don't actually end it. You're still on the ballot.
Well, Sean, maybe Rita will talk to you tonight because she's working 10 to 12 tonight, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, Rita, you know the rules. Don't wake me up.
Okay. All right. Then I won't call you after 7 p.m.
That's 7:30 for you, Rita.
Thank you.
You know what you do? Right, if you're up, text her.
Yeah, that's the way to do it. If you're up, text me, okay?
All right.
Thank you so much, Sean.
Thank you. And you guys, let's go to California.
Let's go to California. California, here we come.
WABC.
Here we go. Well, let's go to California. And of course, he is projected to advance there in the governor's race, the Decision Desk HQ saying it. We'll see where all the votes go, but it looks great for our next guest, Steve Hilton. Steve, first of all, how are you feeling? And of course, you've seen Decision Desk, which is sort of the Bible for a lot of people in projections, is saying you're going to make it to the next round. You and Javier Becerra, but how are you feeling? Because obviously we saw what happened with Graham Plattner in, Spencer Pratt, in the mayor's race, because he now is out. It's going to be Nithya Raman against Karen Bass.
Rita, great to be with you and all the team there. I'm feeling very confident. We've been feeling very confident since election night, honestly. Nothing has changed since then. We've been watching the numbers very closely, as you can imagine, and we simply don't see any way in which the third place candidate, the billionaire climate fanatic Tom Steyer, who spent over $200 million trying to buy this election, simply just doesn't have the room to catch up. We're very excited to see that some people called it last night.
Yep.
Wonderful to get the congratulations of so many people, including the president last night. That's, of course, great. But we always had a rule here on our campaign that we would do it the old-fashioned way and wait until the official call by AP, which hasn't happened yet. But that's just a question of time, we think. Could be today, could be tomorrow. Who knows? It's California. But one way or another, here's the important point.
We had the Attorney General of California on yesterday.
Let me just make the point that we will now definitely have a choice for change in California. LA's been denied that choice with Spencer Pratt being eliminated, but we will have a choice in California. 4 more years of this insanity, the cost, the chaos, the incompetence, or a new direction, lower taxes, less costs, help your business, fix our schools, get back to common sense. That's what I'm offering. Javier Becerra is the living embodiment of more of the same. So actually, I know people will look at this result and say, well, it's a foregone conclusion. It's California. Becerra's going to win. I don't see it that way at all. They are in for a shock this year.
Well, I think you have to give them a choice and say, it's common sense or nonsense. I mean, it's one way or the other. Aren't the California people getting the message? We talked to the Los Angeles Attorney General yesterday.
Yeah, Bill Assaley, the U.S. Attorney. Yeah.
And he is horrified on some of the voting patterns there.
Yes. So I know Bill well, and we've been discussing it, and I'm very happy that he's very closely monitoring the situation. And that's exactly as it should be. We haven't yet seen anything that would make us concerned about anything going on in our race. But, of course, we're going to keep a close eye on it. But more important than that, with all the resources of the Justice Department, Bill and his team are doing that, and that's great.
Steve, I want to get into also some of the issues like you talked about. By the way, I'm so proud of you, Steve. I mean, I'm just the fact that you are where you are right now, and this is an incredible moment, I think, for California. It's true. It's so just I'm so happy for the people of California. And especially if it looks as it appears that it's going to be you and Javier Becerra, who's the HHS, even the Biden people, because he was the Biden HHS, the Health and Human Services Secretary. Biden people have said he didn't do a good job. I mean, that's a pretty low bar. Talk about what a different California vision it is between the two of you. He's also talked about health care for illegals, giving free. And this is a time where you're dealing with homelessness and crime and so many other things.
Well, he said it himself. He was asked on an interview on CNN just the other week, what's different? What would change? He had the same kind of moment that we saw from Kamala Harris in the presidential election, that notorious interview on The View, where they said, well, what would be different? What is anything you didn't agree with that's happened under Biden? And she said, oh, well, nothing comes to mind. Becerra had that same exact moment. He is offering no change whatever from a state that is now the state with the highest poverty rate, the highest unemployment rate, the highest cost of living by far, highest gas prices, housing costs. You've got homelessness out of control. The school results are pretty much the worst in the country, even though we spend the most. You've got businesses leaving because of the insane cost of everything and the hassle and the bloat and the bureaucracy. It's just a disaster. And so it's obvious that we need change. And that's not just me saying that, not just Republicans saying that. There's now a majority in California for change. 57% in the last poll that I saw say the state's going in the wrong direction and it's time for change. So that's really the basis for my optimism about the general election. A majority of Californians want change. Javier Becerra is the living embodiment of more of the same. 36 years, a career politician in the California Democrat machine. You'll just get more of the same cost, incompetence, and corruption from this guy, on top of all the points you made about the Biden administration. By the way, the quote was, he's a joke. I mean, how useless do you have to be if you're rejected as too incompetent by the Biden administration? I mean, come on. On top of that, he's enmeshed in his own corruption scandal himself, where he's been involved in potential breaking of state campaign finance law and federal law relating to a scheme to put money from his campaign account into his chief of staff's salary. He's got an absolute massive and appalling scandal arising from his time at HHS, where he deliberately pushed thousands and thousands of migrant kids that were here as a result of the open border policy into the hands of child sex traffickers. and other appalling outcomes for kids.
Steve, that's a very good point, because you're right. That is over the jurisdiction of the HHS secretary, and there were hundreds of thousands that came in that are still missing. At this point, I know a number of them have been located, thank goodness, to President Trump and also the borders are. But
tens and tens of thousands.
It's a huge deal. Judge Weinberg.
I want to congratulate you, Steve, on a great race. I want to ask you this question. I'm sitting here in New York, and I'm looking at what's going on in my state and in your state. Isn't there a recognition that both states are on a tipping point and that can be lost and not redeemable if this continues?
That's exactly my argument, and I think we are getting to that point. That's why there's a majority who want change, because actually I think it is now or never for California. It really is make or break for the state, because the number of people that I've spoken to over the last year that I've been on the campaign trail up and down the state, businesses of all sizes and all different sectors saying, look, we're just waiting to see if you can pull it off, and if you can't, then we're out. And so the exodus of businesses that we've seen in the last year or so will turn into a stampede if Becerra is elected. And I think there's a real economic crisis looming for California. If you think it's bad now, wait till Becerra's in charge.
Well, there's an economic crisis going on in New York State, too. So we're between New York State, Illinois, and California, these blue states. I don't understand how anybody could vote Democratic unless it's not real people voting Democratic. I mean, so somebody has to make sure that the American citizens are voting and it's not migrants voting.
Well, exactly. And I think that's one of the reasons that I was out this morning at the Vote Center in L.A. Promoting voter ID. Voter ID is going to be on the ballot in California in November, and we've got to get it done. Because whatever happens to the Save America Act, here in California, we can choose to implement voter ID in our elections right here. And that's on the ballot thanks to the hard work of many powerful campaigners over the last year or so, including my friend Carl DeMaio, who runs an organization called Reform California, the Orange County Lincoln Club. As a result of their work, we've got voter ID on the ballot. That's going to go a long way towards not just restoring the integrity, but speeding things up. Because one of the reasons that we have this farce of endless counting is because they're sitting there trying to match signatures, because we don't have voter ID. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous that they're still counting 7 days afterwards. Steve Hilton,
of course,
keep fighting hard. We're on your side, and we're going to stand by your side. And here we come, and we'll talk again real soon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Steve. And listen, Steve, before you hang up, we got a little bit of music for you. Here we go.
California, here I come, right back where I started.
Steve,
I love that song.
We love you, Steve.
Thank you.
Congrats,
Thank you.
And we'll talk with you soon, Steve.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. See you soon.
Thank you, Steve.
Are we taking a break and then going to Alan Dershowitz? We go straight to Alan Dershowitz?
We go straight to Alan Dershowitz.
Let's go straight to Alan Dershowitz, and he is one good friend, and he's one smart guy.
And Professor, it's great to have you here. First off, I don't know if you just heard, but we were talking with Steve Hilton. Can you believe the criteria? Yesterday, we were talking to the U.S. Attorney there in California, Bill Asaley, who was saying you can use a gym membership to be a first-time voter there. You could use an insurance card, a prescription card. What could go wrong, right?
Yeah, you can vote on criteria more easily than you can, get into an office building. But first, I want to complain about your choice of the version of California, Here I Come. When you said you were going to play that, I wanted to hear the Al Jolson version. California, here I come. It's great, the Al Jolson version. So
we're going there to help him. We want to go there and help Steve Hilton.
And by the way, Professor, we purposely didn't play because we wanted you to sing it. So thank you.
Of course, sure. Anytime. So this verdict today, it was the easiest case.
This is the Carmelo Anthony case in Dallas, right? Yep.
There was no defense. His lawyer didn't put him on the witness stand. His lawyer didn't put on a defense, essentially. And of course there was going to be a conviction. Can you imagine if the racial situation were reversed and if a black kid, 16, 17-year-old, had been killed by a white guy? There'd be demonstrations in every city in the country. There would be violence. There would be burning of houses. There'd be everything. But, the racial situation is different. And so the only racism involved in this case are the protests. the protests are racist because all they're saying is because a black kid was convicted, that's racism, that's white supremacism, all of those things. It's ridiculous. This is the easiest case. Now, there's one possible claim on appeal. There were no blacks on the jury, but apparently there are Hispanics and a Muslim, and it's a diverse jury, but you don't have a right to have a jury with particular races represented. So I doubt there'll be a reversal on appeal. So it seems to me this was almost certainly the right verdict. And what a tragedy to have a guy come to a track meet with a knife, and he didn't like the way the guy looked at him. And then he claims that's self-defense. Can you imagine every day on the New York subway we would have claims of self-defense if that were the situation?
That's the point, too, because the other thing, he didn't testify, Carmelo Anthony, who just got convicted. Yeah. Do you think it would have been different had he testified? He didn't testify, and you wonder, had he gotten on the stand and could have explained how he, quote, felt threatened? I agree with you. Or do you think same outcome?
You can't ever criticize a criminal defense lawyer for not putting somebody on the stand unless you know what his secrets are. That is, we don't know what kind of a witness Anthony would have made. Maybe he has a lot of baggage that he could have been cross-examined about. Maybe it would mean that he's done other things, and that would be able to come out if he takes the witness stand. So there must be a good reason, if the guy's a decent lawyer, and I have no reason to believe he wasn't, there must be a good reason why he didn't testify. He didn't testify almost certainly because if he had testified, a lot of negative information would have come out about him. That's my surmise, and that's the way, any criminal lawyer would think about it.
You know what scares me, Professor Dershowitz? I mean, part of the reason we're also talking about it is there were fights outside the courtroom today when this came down, and it's really become a racial issue, just like you said, and it shouldn't. The facts of the case should be the facts, but people are very concerned of what's going to happen maybe tonight in Dallas.
Yeah, well, look, there were fights outside of Madison Square Garden when the Knicks lost, and people are saying, oh, my God, that's because Trump went to the Madison Square Garden, and there were people who were arrested there too. Look, people get very upset, and you have to maintain law and order here. And no matter what the verdict is, no matter who wins the basketball game, there has to be order. There's no justification for attacking people based on a verdict or based on a basketball outcome. So, it's very important that the law is enforced fairly and equally without regard to the race of the people involved.
Professor,
we don't live in that society.
The Parks Department and the reports to the executive office. All of a sudden, the Parks Department says you can't have a wrestling match in the park.
Oh, the UFC is this
UFC, right. And you can't have the
the sort of the cage that they're putting over the
the cage, the other
the arc. Oh, the arc. Yeah, the arc. Yes.
I mean, who in the Parks Department is challenging the President of the United States?
Right. He's just trying to beautify the city.
Yeah, they're trying to also, bring it to court. And the courts are going crazy. They're telling the President of the United States that he can't change the White House. They're telling the President of the United States that he can't bring an event to the White House. They've never told that to another president previously. This is all about they're not liking President Trump. And, that's what happens. Look, if you are on President Trump's side, you make a lot of enemies among Democrats. Tell me, I'm going to Martha's Vineyard in the next few days. Nobody's going to talk to me. They're going to refuse to serve me my pierogi at the fair.
Oh, no, not again.
Yeah.
An annual event.
But this time I'm going to wear my proud shirt saying I am a proud Zionist. I'm going to wear the shirt. I'm going to wear the hat and let them refuse to serve me and, see him in court.
Well, Professor Alan Dershowitz, thank you for your wisdom and thank you. And we'll catch up with you again real soon.
And actually, Professor, we just got some breaking news. Let's go to that. Hold on one second.
Breaking news, WABC.
CENTCOM just announced that the U.S. military is right now conducting strikes. They just started minutes ago in Iran, and this is retaliation for Iran taking down that U.S. Apache helicopter. President Trump said there will be payback. And in the last few minutes, big breaking news, the U.S. is now conducting new strikes in Iran. What's your reaction, Professor Dershowitz?
I am very happy about that. I don't think there should be a deal. The deal will be a bad deal. I think that the war that was started was successful and should continue until it's completely successful, until there's regime change, until the Iranians come on their knees and beg for a deal. The only deal we can get is not a deal of equality, which is what the Iranians want, but a deal in which, like the deal we made after we defeated Nazism in the Second World War. That's the kind of deal we want. We defeated Japan in the Second World War. It has to be total and complete victory to make the Middle East safe.
Professor Alan Dershowitz, thank you for your wisdom. Thank you for your common sense, and we'll talk again real soon.
We will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And I understand. Let's go to Steve Moore, because he has to get off at 5:30.
Oh, he has to go off at 5:30. Is he
Yes.
available? Let's see. We got Steve Moore. Steve, are you with
Moore,
us?
what the heck is going
Ask
on?
you shall receive.
For you guys, I'll go a little past 5:30, but
At least a minute.
I wanted to just report to you that all signs are very strong for this economy. We're seeing real strong investment. We're seeing increase in construction all over the country in terms of building houses, in terms of building roads, in terms of building data centers. We're seeing a big manufacturing renaissance, and the jobs numbers are good. Now, everybody's concerned about the price of gas and obviously food at the grocery store, but you look at these numbers; they're very strong right now.
And tell us that, so there's a Fed meeting next week. I bet you that they just hold steady, because you can't raise interest rates based on temporary increase in oil prices.
Well, listen, I mean, inflation is running at about 3.5% to 4% temporarily. Remember, it was down to well below 2% 6 months ago. I think that what Jerome Powell will do is hold tight. He could, if he's worried about inflation, much better
Not
than raising
Jerome
interest.
Powell.
It's not Powell. He's gone,
Not
isn't
Jerome
he?
Powell.
Kevin Warsh.
He's gone and
What a Freudian slip
forgotten.
that was.
Kevin Froish. Kevin Warsh. Kevin Warsh.
Freudian
Kevin
slip.
Warsh is-
Freudian slip.
Yeah, it really was. But Kevin Warsh is a inflation hawk. I think he may sell off some of the bonds in the federal portfolio, which, we're holding trillions and trillions of bonds. I don't understand the logic of that. But he will not, I'm going to make a headline for you, John. He will not raise interest rates next week. The chances of that are very close to zero. But I don't think he's going to cut them either. I think he's going to hold pat and let the economy work. And this is a very simple formula. When you get economic growth, when you get people working, when you get higher wages for people, when you get more manufacturing, prices go down. They don't go up. So I think we're on a road to get inflation back down to below 2% within the next 3 or 4 months.
I think it could be sooner, but let's get this war over with first. And Steve Moore, I understand you're going to be on Fox at 6 o'clock.
I'll be at Fox at 6, and of course, more money on Saturday afternoons. The highlight of my week, I hope, is the highlight of your listeners' week too.
Well, I'm always listening to you on Saturday afternoon between 1 o'clock and 2 o'clock. And
don't forget, John, I'm still waiting for those Knicks tickets for tomorrow night.
All right, okay.
Front row, courtside.
Thank you so much, and let's take that break right now, and let's have the hot news of the night.
Absolutely.
Roger Stone here. Your dollars are losing ground, but gold isn't. American Sovereign Bullion helps you protect your wealth through real, tangible assets. Through their nationwide wholesaler network, you get some of the best pricing on gold and silver delivered straight to your door. Since 1912, the U.S. dollar has lost 97% of its purchasing power. Meanwhile, gold continues to prove its strength. So call 844-272-2428. That's 844-272-2428. Or visit dyingdollar.com to request your free gold and silver guide. That's dyingdollar.com.
A common sense recap of the day's biggest stories. It's John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC. Breaking news, WABC.
And let's go right to General Jack Keane. General, you probably saw this. CENTCOM announced that as of half an hour ago, U.S. is striking targets in Iran in response to the helicopter that was downed by Iran. Of course, the U.S. Apache helicopter. Fill us in on the latest.
Well, certainly that's an appropriate response. Let's face it, Iranian was trying to kill two of our pilots, and we deserve to respond to that. And I think it's time for us to actually do a reassessment here, because when you think about it, we've been under a ceasefire since April the 8th, and for weeks the Iranians have been attacking in the Straits of Hormuz, trying to attack shipping that we've been passing through, the lane that we cleared. They've been doing that with drones, with fast boats. They've been attacking with missiles as well when we respond and defend the boats passing through. They've attacked our Gulf state partners, witnessed the attack about a week ago, less than a week, at the Kuwaiti airport, where dozens of people were wounded. At Terminal 1, many of us passed through the Kuwaiti International Airport many times. And they've attacked other Gulf states as well. This is all under the ceasefire. And then we finally have what is happening in Lebanon, where there's over 2,000 since the April 17th special ceasefire in Lebanon. The Iranian-backed proxies has attacked over using 2,000 rockets and drones against northern Israeli cities, forcing the evacuation of those towns and villages and the shutting of schools. The people are no longer living in their homes. Over 300 of them have been wounded. This, again, under the ceasefire. I think it's time for us to reassess where are we really? We have people talking to us nice about negotiations on the political side, and the IRGC, who is doing the attacking in the Straits of Hormuz against our Gulf partners and directing the attacks inside of Lebanon, and they're the ones that are in charge. And I think it undercuts the seriousness of making a deal here. And finally, we saw Iran attack Israel with 11 ballistic missiles. And to remind our audience here, a ballistic missile is a very lethal system, 2 to 3 stories high. And if it penetrated into a neighborhood where people were not in their bomb shelters, you could literally kill hundreds. And all of those 11 ballistic missiles were defeated, fortunately. So the Iranians have been violating the ceasefire since we went under the ceasefire for 2 months now. And does it still make sense to try to make a deal with them, given all this time and the fact that they're clearly undermining the ceasefire, which tells you who they really are?
General, the problem is, it seems like the problem is there's 2 Irans. So there's not, if we're negotiating with one Iran, the other Iran has possession of some of those missiles, and they're doing whatever they want. So there's not a united Iran. So if there's not a united Iran, if we're only negotiating with one side, we're still getting hit.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right, John. The reality is that the people that own the guns are the people that are really in charge. And they're providing security for the Ayatollah, who is, as we all know, his father, the Ayatollah, was killed, and this Ayatollah we've not seen at all. And they're providing security for him, and they're the ones that have contact with him. And listen, it really tells you about the intent of the Iranians. Even if they made a deal, as we've discussed many times, are they really going to live up to the implementation of it? Well, we know full well what they've done in the past. They've cheated and tried to reverse everything that they have agreed to. That is the path I think we're truly on. And I think it's a good time now, based on what was happening here, to trying to kill our pilots. Yes, respond with a hard response here. I'm sure Admiral Cooper is doing just that as we speak. But take a step back and take a look holistically. Is this really where we want to be with this regime? And should we reassess and consider bringing back military operations to finish this regime once and for all.
Judge Weinberg.
General, good to talk to you again. I couldn't agree with you more, sir. I mean, this is the problem. They're trying to play a waiting game. They're trying to outlast Trump. They think that the midterm elections will undercut Trump's authority. They're certainly confident that if they have another Democratic president, they can roll everything back because everything will stand or fall on what Trump does. And if he doesn't get rid of this regime, you can be sure that you have no confidence at all in what comes after Trump. Your thoughts?
No, I agree totally. Listen, we got to give the president a lot of credit. He's the only president that has taken on Iran consequentially in the 47 years history of this regime. And he's brought us to this place. And what his strategic objective is, he truly wants to reset the Middle East so that there's stability and peace, and an enduring peace that would lead us even to more normalization with the Abraham Accords, with Israel and all the Arab states in the region. That is really the overall objective here. But the impediment is clearly the Iranians. And I think the lack of good faith that they are demonstrating here since April the 8th, when we went to the ceasefire, clearly demonstrates who they really are. And you're absolutely right. Their strategy here with negotiations is to delay them. I mean, how many times have we been hearing that we're close to a deal, and then it goes past, another week goes by, another 2 weeks go by, and we're close to a deal, and it doesn't happen? Why isn't it happening? Certainly, the Iranians, truth be known, are likely never going to meet the maximalist objectives that President Trump is insisting upon, which is essentially concede everything to the United States. And that is the way it should be. We don't say surrender, certainly, because they're not giving up power, but concede everything that we would achieve through the military operation. And the reason why we're asking them to do that is because we would return to military operations and force it. And I think it's now time to revisit that and recognize full well that the strategy of delaying and delaying and delaying is enabling them to recover quite significantly. They've excavated all their deeply buried tunnels to bring out the ballistic missiles and launch systems that they have there. And they're obviously recovering the drones. So they're gradually getting their strength back. And it makes it that much more difficult when we return to military operations, which I think are inevitable. Now, the good news is, so our audience understands also, is we've been watching them for 8 weeks. So they're excavating deeply buried tunnels and taking ballistic missiles out and launchers. We're watching that, and we're watching where they go with it. So I'm confident that our military operations would be very comprehensive and quite devastating. We have more capability in the region than when we started the war on February the 28th, and the Israelis are flush in deep magazine depth. What shortages they had during the 5 weeks of military conflict, those have all been removed. So we are ready, and we have a very good plan to execute here. And I think the reassessment should take place now, and let's get on with it.
Absolutely. Well, let's see where this goes. General Jack Keane.
I guess we'll know by the morning.
Yeah, maybe even in a few hours, right?
Yes.
Boy, this is interesting. General Jack Keane, we love you. Thank you so much for
you
joining
very much,
us.
sir.
Thank you.
Great talking to all of you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And John, by the way, after the break, we're also going to talk to Victoria Coates is going to give us her take on where things go from there. But first,
the top news of the day.
It's the top news of the day. Here's Rita Cosby.
And as we have been talking about, clearly the big news of the day is the U.S. is now conducting some self-defense strikes in Iran. This comes after President Trump says that Iran downed a U.S. helicopter. 2 service members were on board that Apache helicopter over the Strait of Hormuz, and they are now safe and sound. That is the good news. And again, we'll try to get more details on those strikes, which just started 42 minutes ago. And also in Texas, Carmelo Anthony has been found guilty in the racially charged case there. The now 19-year-old Anthony stabbed and killed 17-year-old Austin Metcalf during a confrontation at a high school track meet last year. And we'll have more on that, too, as well. Coming up, we're going to talk to Victoria Coates, former Deputy National Security Advisor, get her take on this big breaking news.
Commuting home with Katz and Cosby. Now, here's John Katzimatidis and Rita Cosby on 77 WABC. Breaking news, WABC.
And in the last 45 minutes or so, the strikes have begun. U.S. against Iran. This in retaliation for the downing of a U.S. helicopter by Iran. 2 service members that were aboard that Apache helicopter are safe and sound. They were patrolling the Strait of Hormuz. And of course, this is supposed to be a ceasefire. And yet again, Iran violating it. And President Trump saying they will pay. Well, joining us now is Victoria Coates, former Deputy National Security Advisor. Victoria, things are getting very heated there over in that part of the world. Where do you think things are going to go from here? And what do you think President Trump should be hitting? We don't know yet what he's targeting, but CENTCOM said we are firing right now on Iran.
Yeah, this is a sort of exciting evening, and we know very little. I just want to be clear with your listeners, Rita, that CENTCOM, the president 5 hours ago said there's going to be a price to pay. The Iranians, it seems to me, read the New York Times. They read these reports that say things like the president's not going to, go back to kinetic action unless Americans are actually killed. Well, they could have killed those 2 pilots, last night. It's by, the skill of our actual AI people who went in with a sardonic, wonderful company out of Texas, a unmanned water drone, essentially. So it's a boat that doesn't have any crew, but it's being controlled remotely to go in and rescue those pilots. But even so, I never heard the president say that. I never heard him say he was taking military action off the table absent that event. And so, the Iranians read that. They thought they had some impunity. He pointed out to them that, no, you don't. And we're going to go back in. And 20 minutes ago, CENTCOM said, we're executing. So we'll see what they strike. I think the Israeli strike on the petrochemicals plant was important because that's the kind of infrastructure that has dual use for military and civilian use purposes that the Iranians were hoping to use to rebuild their economy after the war. I would say my recommendation would be to go after that kind of facility to just both show them what we can do that they're powerless against and ruin any hopes they have for economic rebuilding.
Yeah, I agree. I think they need to hit them hard. Judge Weinberg.
I couldn't agree with you more, Victoria. Listen, they're going to keep doing this and doing this and doing this. We were talking to General Keane a couple of minutes ago. The strategy is delay, delay, delay. You have to hit them hard. If you just have a one-off response. So if tonight just consists of a one-off response and you hit them a little bit and then you go back to your so-called negotiations, you've really accomplished nothing. You have to hit them where they can really be hit. And that's in their infrastructure, in terms of the supporting their economy, their oil capacity, whether you're knocking out their ports, whether you do something about seizing or destroying cargo. We have to do something. Otherwise, this can go on in perpetuity. Your thoughts?
No, I think you're right, Judge, and I have all confidence in President Trump, who is the most reluctant man to use military force until he isn't, at which point he does not use the United States military to send messages. They are not a post office. Those are our precious young and men and women, the best amongst us who have volunteered to defend us. He's not going to put them in harm's way to, as I said, send a message. I think he's going to do a very powerful strike. It may be something along the lines of Midnight Hammer, which was, a demonstration of a capability they didn't know we had. But when it was done, he put an end to it. So I think it probably will be targeted and surgical to things he likes a lot. But also, like the Soleimani strike, I'd layer that one on too, highly effective and puts them back on their heels.
I think we're going to know in a few hours, Victoria. Because President Trump has sort of kept us all posted every step of the way. He said retaliation's coming. Then CENTCOM puts out this announcement less than an hour ago, says we have begun our strikes in Iran. I tend to think we're going to get an update later on. And I think it's going to be forceful because President Trump's response is forceful and he is fed up.
Oh, absolutely. And also, I think that transparency you're pointing to, Rita, is really important because there's so much leaking going on. People who are on phone calls who should know better, who shouldn't repeat things. to Axios every 15 minutes, trying to put wedges between the United States and Israel. I think the president's strategy of directly updating the American people and then having elements like CENTCOM, Secretary of Defense, the Secretary of State come out and update the American people. Folks don't have an excuse for getting this wrong. They're telling us in real time what they are doing. And if we choose not to believe them and to believe, the failing legacy media and not reporting like yours and this show and the kind of discussions we have, there's nothing I can do about that. But the president's doing what he needs to do to get the message out there.
Yeah, 100%. Well, Victoria, please keep us posted. As you get details, we can think of nobody better than you. That's why we went to you in this breaking news, and we're so glad to have you, Victoria. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great talking to you guys.
Thank you, Victoria.
Thank you so much. And you guys, there's a lot of news also out of Minnesota. And who better than the former senator? We love him, Norm Coleman, joining us now. Senator Coleman, this is big stuff. We're talking obviously about Iran and then domestically here now, of course, fraud. And this comes as President Trump. We also heard from Vice President Vance. He referred the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, the Attorney General, Keith Ellison, to the Department of Justice after this damning House report over fraud in the state. Talk about what a big deal that is.
As he should have, the House Oversight Committee issued this Barnes report. But let me just follow on to Victoria, if I may. I had the high privilege of sharpening Secretary of War Hegseth in his confirmation. I work very closely with the National Chair of the Republican Jewish Coalition with Bibi Netanyahu is a close personal friend. I work with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Donald Trump, don't underestimate Donald Trump. He said exactly what he was going to do. If you play games with us, if you don't resolve this, you're going to pay a price. And so he is just. I love Victoria quotes. The Ayatollahs are reading the New York Times and thinking that's American policy. It's not under Donald J. Trump. It's not under Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. It's a whole new world, and I'm so pleased that we have a president with the courage to do the things that have to be done to ensure that the next generation doesn't face an Iran with a nuclear weapon that could wipe out. We're the great Satan. Israel is the little Satan. So I just it's always a thrill to come on after Victoria. She's so wise. She's so on point, and this is really, I think, another historic moment. Now, by
the way, Norm, I agree with you 100%. Thank goodness we have President Trump at this moment in history.
The only guy we've had as president that has the courage to do something about it right now.
Absolutely. By the way, it's absolutely stunning. By the way, it is courage. The American people, we're very fickle. I must say to my former consider very fickle. Concerned. Okay, what's the price of gas today? But there are some long-term consequences of failing to act when evil is in your face. And when evil has the capacity to do great destruction. We've been at war with the Iranians for 40 years. They have killed countless and maimed and really hurt so many Americans over so many years. And this president is finally taking care of that. It will be done. We will all be safer. We'll all be better off. Gas prices are going to go back down. The economy is going to keep moving forward. Thank God Donald J. Trump is in the White House. Now let me just say, bombshell report about Minnesota. What I had said a long time ago on this show, I called this DEI fraud happening in Minnesota. If you were Somali, then the governor or the attorney general were not going to prosecute you because they were concerned about being called racist. They were concerned about upsetting their political base. And so in the end, you had this massive fraud, and you had a House report saying that the attorney general and the governor knew, should have known, that they retaliated against whistleblowers. It really a mess. Thank God that Tim Walz is going to be out of office. Keith Ellison deserves to be voted out of office this November.
So how serious is this? Because, one of the things I was reading, Norm Coleman, in the report, it was essentially saying either they're criminal activities or they're stupid. There's no in between, right?
Right. The stupidity or willful or they say worse, which is criminal. I mean, Ellison has a meeting with the folks involved in this fraud, and they tell him, this is discrimination that we're being looked at by the authorities. I'll take care of that. I'll take care of that for you. I'll go after them. I mean, this is pretty stunning. But again, the challenge is in our democracy, it's the voters who have the final say. Whether you can convert this into a criminal prosecution to prove, criminal conduct beyond, I don't know. But the voters have a choice. In November, they have a choice about whether Keith Ellison gets reelected. Here's a person, read the report. You'll see at a minimum stupidity and sheer incompetence and at a maximum worse criminal conduct. So I think in the end the voters will come to decide this. I hope they make the right choice. As I once said to you before, if they don't, I'm reminded of what Rudy Giuliani said Ed Koch once said when he lost an election, the people have spoken, they deserve to be punished. I hope that's not the case in Minnesota in November.
Yeah, let's hope. Judge Weiberg.
I think Senator, that's very well said. The problem is here in New York, the people have spoken and we are being punished. And I'm afraid you have the segments all across the country where people are voting foolishly and there are long-term consequences to our great country.
Well, look what's happening up in Maine. You've got a Nazi sympathizer with communist tendencies, actually a reprobate and lack of character, and he's ahead in the polls in Maine. I hope folks in the end kind of come to their senses. Democrat socialism is not democratic, and it doesn't provide equality for anyone. It destroys an economy. It destroys the work ethic. It destroys the opportunity for individuals to succeed and be the best they can be. Unfortunately, New York voted that in. In other places, they're looking at voting that in. I'm very confident they won't do it in Maine because the reprobate, the lack of moral character, may overcome the stupidity of his political beliefs. But we'll see how that plays out, Judge.
Thank you very much, Senator.
All right, thank you,
Senator. Senator, I remind all the people that you were elected as senator again for a second term, and then 9 months later, you lost by 300 votes.
Right, out of 3.5 million. Yeah, well, things happen. By the way, okay, it's not Nixon 4, but it's going to be Nixon 5.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Senator. We love you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And you guys, we're going to take a break now, and we're going to talk to Doug Schoen. We're also getting some more details about these strikes in Iran by the United States just happening. We may go over time
because we might be able to get some General Holt on or somebody.
We're working on that right now. Big breaking news. You definitely want to stay tuned, guys.
It's a common sense recap of the big stories. It's Katz and Cosby on 77 WABC. Breaking news, WABC.
And boy, there is big news. We're just getting some updates, guys, about these U.S. strikes on Iran. They are first right now targeting air defenses, which, as we were just saying, usually clears the way for now the big strike coming in. So the question is, what is President Trump going to hit? And
do they have any air defenses left?
Well, I guess some, right? At least some.
I don't know. Let's ask General Blaine Holt.
Well, who better than General Blaine Holt, former C-17 commander. General Holt, thank you for joining us as this news is just breaking. What kind of air defenses do they have, and what do you think President Trump is going to hit?
Well, they're still sitting on Russian and Chinese air defenses, Russian systems. For what it's worth, the nomenclature is an S-300, S-400 system with Chinese radars. The problem is they haven't really worked very well, and they're also in short supply since we've taken a lot of them out. If you recall, just a couple of days ago, the IRGC hit a lot of targets in Israel, and they were firing the week before on Kuwait. Well, when they do that, they give us a lot of targeting information. They give up a lot of intelligence to do that, and now we're in possession of that intelligence. And after the downing of our attack helicopter on patrol, we are absolutely getting aggressive about servicing all of those things that we can see that were important to the IRGC, and I believe it's only going to get more intense from here.
Like what kind of targets? Let's talk about some of the specifics. I mean, there's a lot of things that are on the table. We know the Israelis went after this petrochemical plant, which really hits them hard, these dual-use facilities. Are we talking about maybe something Carg Island? What are we talking about?
So I wouldn't, except for military garrisons on Carg Island, I wouldn't expect to see a lot happening there. We want to protect the oil infrastructure That's one of those little differences of opinion that we have with the Israelis on the petrochemical side. But, we will get there. The types of targets that we're most interested in have been prioritized during the ceasefire. So you're looking at air defenses, missiles that can be launched on Israel or any of its neighbors. You're looking at firing positions, the speedboats that were trying to lay mines in the straits, and then command and control for the IRGC itself. We have a pretty good idea about where a lot of them were bunkered. And so we can, look, they opened up a Pandora's box. Now we're going to go in and really put a cost imposition down on the IRGC.
Well, General, what some of the people don't understand that if we take out infrastructure, we're not going to get the price of oil down, and that hurts. So people have to get a little bit smarter about that instead of bomb.
There has to be strategic.
There's got to be strategic where we hurt them, but we don't hurt the infrastructure because you want the price of oil to come back down again. And you want, when the price of oil comes down, then interest rates go down too.
Right. There's a big effect.
So let's have some smartness.
That's a good point.
Let's be chimpanzees, not be gorillas.
But here's the question. You hit a great point there, Blaine, in terms of there are garrisons on Carg Island that could be hit. There's also the IRGC bunkers. That's also, to me, these guys clearly seem to be the big impediment. They are hardened.
Yeah, we have to hit the bunkers where the IRGC is.
Absolutely. Why are we not?
And take them out because they're the ones that are causing the problems.
Exactly. Why have we not even kind of done that yet, Blaine?
If you eliminate the IRGC, the war is effectively over. It is done. The reason that Iran can't make good on any kind of deal with President Trump is because the IRGC is the only one with the weapons, and they will go after their own civilian leadership. So, again, the IRGC has been operating independently, and they've been firing at anything they can because they know they don't have a way out. There is an extinction event in play right now for the IRGC. And the most important point is that if we want to avoid a global war in this whole thing and something far worse, then we need to save and secure Carg Island. We need to secure those oil wells. We need to secure the oil industry, not just for the future Iranian free people, but for the world that uses those resources, both in agriculture and petrochemicals.
So walk us through a kind of just give us a timeline, because this is obviously breaking right now. You've got they're striking the air defenses. How long till, it might be a bunker or something strategic on Carg Island? And
I think you'll get there. You're going to get there right away.
I think so too. I think we're going to hear something in the next few hours, right?
You're going to get the first day's bomb damage assessment report soon. And you're going to get another day of bombing. So the way I looked at this was President Trump, with the loss of the helicopter, had two ways to go. He could go tit for tat, or he could go, okay, fine. You've just given me an invitation to bust up the ceasefire. Let's go take out the rest of the IRGC. With what I see before me, it looks like he's going on the large side, not the small side. And then to what John's saying is command and control, and those leaders need to be in play. And at the same time, intel assets on the ground need to encourage the Artesh, the Iranian army, and the resistance army of Iran to now go ahead and take matters into your own hands and take your country back.
Yeah, the question is, if they don't have weapons, how are they going to do that?
Well, the Artesh does. The regular army does. And
but then they got to give up. They got to give up their buddies at the IRGC.
I think that's in progress. I think IRGC is now an isolated entity, and the only thing they have going for them is that they've got launchers and weapons, and we're going to help them with that problem right now.
Judge Weinberg.
So are you optimistic that this is something that's going to lead to a regime change?
Well, I think there's a regime change in our future no matter what, because we're not going to leave Armageddon-minded psychopaths who are also revenge-minded forever. That's one thing. I don't think there's much left of the Ayatollahs at all, if anything. And I think that you'll see a Venezuelan model emerge through this thing where Pezeshkian, Gandabaf, and Regachi could possibly then become the stabilizing interim leadership team. But the whole problem right now, well, you've got two problems. I'll be quite transparent. IRGC, because they have firing ability. And then let's not forget about our so-called friends up in Europe who have been blocking us and putting impediments in President Trump every step of the way, not helping with Lloyd's of London. Now the Houthis are firing up in the Gulf of Aden, and we have other problems there. So you've got significant European interplay here.
Well, thank you, General Holt. And I'm going to tell all our listening audience, stay tuned to WABC for more breaking news throughout the night. And Rita, you're on between 10 and 12.
We're going to have the latest.
Joe Concha is on between
9 and 10.
9 and 10. And we have also
Roger Stone and
Mark
Levin.
Between 8 and 9, and Mark Levin between 6 and 9. So I'm telling all our listening audiences, stay tuned to WABC and find out how much damage is being done to Iran. And General Holt, thank you. And General Holt, what we all stand for?
Truth, justice, and the American way.
The American way.
God bless America. And let's go to Mark Levin in progress.
Thanks for listening to Katz and Cosby with John Catsimatidis and Rita Cosby. You can hear Katz and Cosby weekdays at 5. It's the 5 o'clock show on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder.
What the heck is going on here?
On the biggest stage in the world, FanDuel is changing the game because sometimes your player gets subbed off and your bet goes with them. Not anymore. With FanDuel Super Sub, if your player's subbed out, your bet stays in. That's right. If your player leaves the match, your bet continues on with the substitute. So you're still in it until the final whistle. Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.
21 plus select states for Kansas in affiliation with Kansas Star Casino. 18 plus DCKYWY. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 1-800-MY-RESET. 888-789-7777. Visit ccpg.org/chat. Connecticut. Visit mdgamblinghelp.org. Maryland. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org. Call 800-327-5050. Massachusetts. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY. Text HOPE-NY in New York. Call 877-770-7867. Louisiana.
Visit FanDuel.com. Get started now. Let there be goals this summer on FanDuel.